There comes a point in this journey where it finally hits. Most people don't need another method, another breakthrough, or another explanation. What they really need is to stop. Just stop for a moment and realize that everything they've been trying to attract has already been created the moment it was fully felt in imagination. It wasn't an idea. It wasn't a random thought. It wasn't even just hope. The moment a desire is imagined with a real feeling of truth, it is done. Creation is not something that takes time. It's something that happens instantly in consciousness. But the problem is, the mind doesn't trust what it can't measure. So it keeps looking for signs, for results, for validation. But nothing new can happen while that waiting continues, because the act of checking is proof that the assumption hasn't been made. The truth is simple. The world outside is always trying to reflect what's accepted within. Not what's wanted, but what's truly accepted. So if the inner world keeps switching between desire and doubt, the outer world stays stuck in delay. The real shift comes when the mind stops needing evidence and starts walking in the assumption that what was imagined is already real. It sounds subtle, but it's everything. Because most people don't fail to imagine, they fail to rest in what they've already imagined. They keep restarting instead of surrendering. They think it's not working, when the only thing that's actually not working is their ability to stay loyal to the unseen. And that's the message that breaks the pattern. You don't need to become a master at techniques. You don't need to spend hours visualizing. You don't need to search endlessly for what's already within. The moment something was felt real in the mind, it was born. The only job now is to stop digging up the seed. Let it live. Let it grow. Let it unfold. Not with pressure, not with doubt, but with faith. If you saw it clearly, if you felt it as if it were already real, then it is done. Not someday, not later, now. And the faster this truth is accepted, the faster life aligns with it. Stop trying to prove it. Start living like it's already yours. Because it is. There's something deeply powerful about simplicity, and yet it's the one thing the mind struggles to accept. It always wants to make things harder, more advanced, more layered, as if complexity equals control. But when it comes to manifestation, simplicity isn't just helpful, it's the very doorway to success. The entire structure of Neville Goddard's teaching rests on one simple foundation: imagination creates reality. Not affirmations, not rituals, not repeating a phrase for hours. Imagination, the ability to create a scene in the mind, feel it as if it's already happened, and persist in that assumption. That's it. But what happens over time is that people begin to doubt the simplicity, and in that doubt, they start layering more and more on top. Suddenly, there are dozens of techniques floating around, each with new names and complicated steps, and that pure, original method gets buried under confusion. But the truth is, nothing works better than what was first taught, because it was never about technique, it was about belief. Belief that what's felt inwardly will show itself outwardly. And that belief becomes easier when the technique is simple enough to do consistently. Imagine one clear scene. Make it specific, something that would naturally happen after the desire is fulfilled. It doesn't need to be a full movie, just a short clip, one moment, something ordinary but meaningful. That clip becomes the bridge, and the more it's felt, the more it starts to take root. This is where so many lose their way. They think they need more input, more clarity, more visualization skills, but none of that matters if the feeling isn't there. Feeling is the key, not effort, not repetition, just the quiet acceptance that what is seen inwardly is already true. And that kind of acceptance doesn't come from mastering a technique. It comes from stopping the mental noise, from stopping the chase, from finally saying, this is enough, this is done. When that decision is made, the technique becomes natural again. Not forced, not complicated, just real, and that's all it ever needed to be. The one thing that separates a result from a delay isn't how perfectly the technique is done or how many times it's repeated, it's conviction. That inner shift, that unshakable belief that what's imagined is already real, is the only thing that actually moves the world. Conviction doesn't mean shouting affirmations all day or trying to overpower doubts with force. Conviction means feeling something as so true that there's no room left for questioning. It becomes the new baseline, the new default. Most people are constantly checking, constantly adjusting, constantly wondering if they're doing it right. But that very behavior shows the belief hasn't landed yet. Because when something is truly believed, the mind becomes still. There's no urgency, no rush, no panic, just a calm knowing. And that knowing is what produces change faster than anything else. This is why so many techniques don't work. Not because the method is wrong, but because the belief isn't there. If someone repeats a scene 100 times but doesn't truly accept it, nothing happens. But if someone sees it once and fully accepts it with every part of themselves, everything shifts. That's the power of inner persuasion. It isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's quiet, firm, and complete. And the good news is that this kind of belief isn't out of reach. It's not some special skill that takes years to develop. It's already natural. Every time something is feared, that fear is believed instantly. There's no effort, no second guessing. It's just accepted. That same ability can be applied in the opposite direction, to believe in the best, to believe in the outcome, to believe in the scene that was imagined. It's a shift from hoping to having, from wanting to living as if it's already done. And the more that shift is made, the less energy is wasted, because there's no need to force anything that's already real. There's only a need to remain loyal to the new assumption and to act, think, and feel from that new place. That's real power. One of the most damaging misconceptions about imagination is the belief that it has to be perfect in order to work. People spend so much time worrying about whether they're seeing things clearly enough, whether the scene is vivid enough, whether they're doing it like Neville said, and in that worry, they completely miss the point. The power was never in the perfection of the image, it was always in the feeling. The subconscious does not respond to how clear something looks visually, it responds to how true something feels emotionally. That means a simple, imperfect, emotionally charged moment in imagination can move mountains faster than a perfectly crafted fantasy that carries no belief. The idea is not to create a masterpiece in the mind. It's to create a moment that feels real enough that the body and mind begin to react as if it's already happening. That's the real technique. That's what impresses the subconscious and begins shifting the external reality. It can be as small as a conversation, a celebration, or a single second of someone congratulating you on something you wanted. What matters is how real it feels while you're in it, not how complex it is. This is why people who struggle with visualization can still get incredible results. Because it's not about seeing, it's about believing. It's about using whatever imagination is available and combining it with the assumption that what's being imagined is the truth right now. Even if the image is faint, even if the scene isn't crystal clear, the act of feeling it and repeating it in a calm, drowsy state before sleep is enough to change everything. And the more it's done with sincerity and repetition, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, that imagined scene becomes familiar. The body starts to relax into it. The mind stops resisting it, and the outer world starts responding to it. This is the missing piece for many. They imagine something but don't stay in it long enough to feel it. Or they change the scene too often because they think something's wrong. But nothing is wrong with a simple scene, as long as it creates that inner shift, the quiet moment where the heart says, yes, this is true. That one moment, felt consistently, does more than hours of forced effort. It builds faith, it builds expectation, and most importantly, it tells the subconscious, this is who I am now. That's what gets reflected. Always, there's a huge difference between knowing and doing. Most people who are into manifestation already know more than enough. They've read the books, watched the lectures, followed the forums, and listened to every expert out there. But the results don't come from knowing, they come from practicing. The law doesn't respond to how much is understood intellectually. It responds to how deeply something is felt and accepted internally. That's why someone who reads one page and actually applies it with consistency can create more change than someone who studies for years but never commits to the practice. And this is where the cycle begins for most. Endless learning, endless questioning, endless searching for the next secret, but no actual change in behavior. Because practicing the law isn't glamorous. It's quiet. It's personal. It's usually done alone, right before sleep, in a state where the conscious mind is drifting. That's not exciting, but that's where the power lies. And the truth is, nothing will change until that space becomes sacred, until that moment before sleep becomes the most important part of the day, where the desired reality is felt and accepted as already true. That's what creates the shift. Not the knowledge, not the theory, not the debating of techniques. The subconscious doesn't care about language. It cares about experience. And experience comes from practice. It comes from doing the thing over and over until it becomes natural. This is the real secret that almost no one talks about. Success comes to the one who practices even when it's boring, even when there are no signs, even when it feels like nothing is happening. That consistency is what trains the mind to believe. That quiet trust is what creates the change. So the next time there's a temptation to go look for another answer, pause and ask, have I actually practiced what I already know? Have I applied it with focus and faith? If the answer is no, then nothing new is needed, just a deeper commitment to what's already been given. The law works when it's used, not when it's studied, not when it's quoted, but when it's lived. And the more it's practiced, the more effortless it becomes. It stops feeling like a technique and starts feeling like life. That's when the world catches up. Not before. The moment something is accepted within, the process is already in motion. The outer world is not the cause, it's the effect. Imagination is the true cause. It's the original blueprint. Every change, every manifestation, every result starts with a thought that felt real. That's why Neville taught that imagination is not just a mental tool, it is the creative power itself. The problem is, most people imagine something, feel it for a few moments, and then spend the rest of their day contradicting it by worrying, doubting, and checking. They dig up the seed before it has time to grow. The only real requirement after imagining is to let go. Not to forget it, but to stop needing it, to stop chasing it. Letting go means allowing the world to take care of the how, while the focus stays on being the version of self that already has it. This is not about indifference, it's about trust. Trust that the unseen is already becoming seen. And that trust grows when the inner state is held more powerfully than the external circumstances. The bridge of incidents will come, the evidence will show, but it can only come to the one who is still enough to receive it. Constant checking and doubting block the flow. Imagination sets the direction. Faith allows the journey, and letting go creates space for it to arrive. So every night, go back to the scene. Feel it, live it, let it become your home. And then during the day, walk as if it already happened. Speak, act, and think from the version that has. Not as performance, but as identity. Because when it becomes natural within, it has no choice but to become natural outside. That's the law. That's how creation works. And the best part, it's always working. The only question is, what version of reality is being accepted as true right now? If it's the version you want, stay there. Don't rush. Don't panic. Just keep going. Because if it was seen in imagination and truly felt as real, it's already done. Let it unfold. Let it come. Let it be. There comes a moment when continuing to doubt becomes more exhausting than simply trusting. A moment where there's nothing left to search, nothing left to prove, and nothing left to fix, because the truth finally lands. The world outside isn't holding anything back. It's only ever echoing what's being lived within. So if the inner state is one of waiting, the outer world keeps delivering delays. But the moment that inner shift happens, the moment it's no longer about when it's coming but how natural it already feels, that's when the real change begins. And from that point forward, everything gets easier. Not because the world suddenly cooperates, but because there's no more fight inside, no more trying to manifest, no more effort to be in the right state. Just being, just living, just staying loyal to the version that has. That's the quiet power that makes life unfold beautifully and quickly. Because you're no longer pushing, you're allowing. You're no longer reacting to appearances. You're creating from assumptions. And that switch, from hoping to knowing, from trying to trusting, is the only shift that ever really needed to happen. So here's the reminder that brings everything back into alignment. If it was seen in imagination and felt with conviction, then it is already done. Not as a concept, but as a reality in motion. All that's left now is to stay there. Not obsessively, not fearfully, but confidently, calmly, naturally. Because the moment something becomes normal within, the world will match it without. And until then, nothing else is required but to keep living from it, keep feeling into it, and keep coming back to that same scene that made everything inside go still. That's the doorway, and it opens every time you enter it with belief. You don't need to check if it's working. You don't need to compare your journey with anyone else. You just need to walk in your imagination like it's your new address, because it is. And if it feels unfamiliar at first, that's okay. Stay with it. Let it become your new normal. Let it anchor into your system so deeply that you stop waiting for results and start expecting them. Because when the result no longer feels like a miracle and starts feeling like something obvious, it shows up faster than you can explain. So keep it simple, keep it true, and keep reminding yourself, if you saw it in your mind, it's done. If this message hit something deep, let it sink in before you say anything. But when you're ready, drop a comment and share what landed for you. What part finally clicked? What are you going to start doing differently tonight? Not from pressure, but from clarity. Let this be the last time you ask, am I doing it right? And the first time you say, it's already mine. I'll be reading the comments and would love to hear what opened up for you. Let's keep this real, grounded, and simple, just like the law itself.